in this.
Call Kanwaljit Singh Bakshi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The bill we are debating tonight is because of some of the omissions made in the transitional provisions of the Crown Mineral Amendment Act. This bill is another bill which is in line with the National Party's growth agenda. This will provide opportunities for New Zealanders, and we want to ensure that the permit holders have got confidence in what they are doing. It is backed by the government. We are in the early stages of development of our oil and gas natural resources, and I hope this bill will ensure that confidence to the permit holders. I commend this bill.
I call Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker, again, it's a rise to take a call on this very important Crown Minerals. It's got so many different names, amendments to it, so it's confusing. The Crown Minerals Amendment Act 2013 Amendment Bill, and as my learned colleague Moana Maki has pointed out, we are amending a piece of legislation that we only passed barely 2 months ago. Such is the nature of the management of legislation by this government in this House. But so what we've heard so far in this second reading speech is the trite old National Party platforms that are vacuous rhetoric, ill-informed, with no evidential basis at all. And of course compounded by the fact that we have a government that is so terrified, so scared of the citizens of this country, they are now routinely ramming important legislation through this House without any proper oversight of select committees and the ability of members of the New Zealand public to have their say. We should not be passing legislation on the oil and gas industry, on Crown Minerals, on the extractive industries, without the assistance and the input of the industry and of those people affected by it. And Jonathan Young talks at long and large about the good people of Taranaki. Well, there are people in Taranaki who are starting to express concern, grave concern, about some of the oversight of the industry and the way it operates in Taranaki. And the people of Tikorangi who are expressing concern. And he knows what the issue is with the Kōwhai seawell, and he knows what the residents' concerns are, but they do not get a fair hearing. Well, they do get a fair hearing from one person, the list MP, who works in Taranaki, and that is me. Because at least Taranaki has the benefit of one MP who spends his time up there listening to the citizens and what the people have to say. I spend a lot more time in Taranaki than the Minister of Finance spends down in Dipton, I can tell you that much. And I don't have multiple houses to show for it either. And the people in New Plymouth are lining up at my constituency office there in New Plymouth, ready to meet me and to talk to me and to tell me their concerns. And most of those concerns are their anxieties about a government they perceive as failing to provide them with the assurances and the oversight that they as responsible citizens are entitled to expect of a government that is truly acting in their best interests. And they've now realised, many New Plymouth residents now, many Taranakians have now realised that is not the sort of government that we have. Because if it was a government that was genuinely interested in the public interest, we wouldn't be having important legislation on important industries rammed through this House in a matter of hours and without the benefit of the input of the citizens and indeed of the industry. I would want to hear from Schlumberger and from Shell and from Halliburton's and from Todd Energy. I would want to hear from them about the impact of this legislation, whether it in fact is even only used to them to have a two-stage approval process for their permit as they go from prospecting to exploration. Let's hear from them, because we certainly don't have a regulatory impact statement we can refer to, apart from Moana Maki's very helpful one, certainly more helpful than the one we saw earlier today. Now, so I myself went looking for a regulatory impact statement on this bill earlier today, and I couldn't find one. But what I did find, sir, and I can't find it now, look at that. One comes to this House so prepared, one comes to this House so well prepared that that I went looking for a regulatory impact statement, and I found this document, sir. And then I realised, of course, that it's not the regulatory impact statement. It's the list of achievements of this government of the last 4 years. That's what we're dealing with, because this government does not care about, and we've seen it so often. We saw it at the beginning of last week, we saw it last night, and we are seeing it again now. This government does not care about due process. And we should not take lightly the issues that are in this bill. They are issues, firstly, of health and safety, and that is a matter that is very dear to my heart. And I know that there are members in this government, there are former members of cabinet in this government who took very seriously the issue of health and safety. We are yet to see whether the present cabinet and whether the other members of this government take health and safety seriously. But this bill and the roughshod manner in which it is being rammed through this House does not give me any comfort, and will not give comfort to the many workers in the oil and gas industry. The many men, or they are men, who work on the rigs, do the dangerous work at the top of the derricks, out on the high seas. They will not be reassured by the way this government is handling this piece of legislation. The best that Sam Latuainga could come up with, by way of comparison, was the wine industry. That somehow the oil and gas industry is comparable to the wine industry. Well, there is a big difference. When they talk about strings in the wine industry, we're talking about the things that prop up the grapes. In the oil and gas industry, the strings are the lines that go down, the pipes that go down into the well as part of the drilling system. That's the difference. And we're not talking about winemaking here. This is tough work. It's hard work. It's complex technology. It's dangerous work. And the workers in that industry are entitled to know that the oversight of it and the oversight of health and safety in it is the best available, is world's best practice. The government has set a standard, an ambition for itself, or at least the committees reporting to it have, the Royal Commission on Pike River and the recent Health and Safety Advisory Group that reported, that chaired by Rob Jager, the head of Shell in New Zealand, who himself understood that health and safety in this country is not good. The industry is entitled to know that this government genuinely wants world's best practice when it comes to health and safety oversight. This bill does the opposite. This bill treats it shabbily. This bill treats health and safety cheaply. It is not a good sign. And so we don't take comfort that this government, that this neophyte Minister of Labour, parading as a Minister of Energy tonight, that he understands the fundamentals of health and safety either. And of course the other aspect of this bill is its extraordinary extension of jurisdiction across the continental shelf. That now, as it relates to its previous anti-protest, anti-dissent law, that now extends its coverage as well. And it just illustrates what this government is all about. This is a government that sadly is taken back to 1951, hates dissent, hates anybody with an alternative view, cannot bring itself to collaborate with any other interests because it thinks it knows best. So it comes up with laws that are badly drafted. It comes up with laws that are so badly drafted that 6 weeks later we have to amend them yet again before the original law has even been enacted. And so contemptuous of dissent that it does not want to hear alternative voices. Well, the modern world, Mr Bridges, the modern world members of the national government, that party over there, the modern world now depends on collaboration. We live in a world of modern relationships where there is a sense of mutual respect, where it is okay to talk to others with whom we disagree and to share ideas and to find the common ground. And it's on that basis, and only on that basis, that we will come up with good quality legislation, not the roughshod stuff that we're being fed up day in, day out in this House under this government. Hastily managed, shabbily done, as it is all the time. And so, sir, this bill gives us no comfort. It will give the industry no comfort, and it will do our international reputation no good. And in an industry upon which this government is staking so much and banking so much for our economic future. And for those members opposite who talk about the economic and the economic management of this country, we know that this is just a small part of the economic management of this country. The real challenge is building our economic base for the next 20, next 50 years. And this won't be it. This won't be it. We should get this right, but this is not the economic panacea that it has been played out with played up to by members opposite. We need an economic strategy that is about broadening our economic base, that is playing to our innovation advantages, our strategic advantages in manufacturing high-tech goods and supplying the rest of the world. That's where the future will lie. But if we have to rely on, and to the extent for the next medium term, we have to rely on the extractive industries, we want the best oversight and the best regimes governing those industries we possibly can. This bill could do a lot better. It doesn't. We won't have the chance to give a proper debate in the Select Committee and have the benefit of the wisdom and insights of those in the industry, and that's why we'll remain opposed to this bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Dr. Jiang Yang.
Mr. Speaker, the previous speaker talked a lot about Taranaki, so let's talk about Taranaki.